All right, so now we're ready to actually see if we can just sketch the graph of tangent functions without going through where it actually comes from. But recall that the tangent graph actually comes from dividing the sine graph, which here I have it in orange on this example, by the cosine graph, which is the other wave coming through here. And when you do that, you get the tangent graph, which again, for the first interval of it, will start at the origin, and then you'll have an asymptote at positive pi over 2, another one at negative pi over 2, and then halfway in between here, you'll be at negative 1. Halfway in between here, you'll be at positive 1. And what happens is it goes from the origin up and approaches your asymptote on this side, and then down and approaches your asymptote on that side. Okay? So now your tangent equation is here. And for all the examples we're going to do, we're going to keep our amplitude 1. Now later on in pre-cal, you might change that, but for now, we're going to keep it simple for you. All the graphs you're going to do is going to be 1, which means you are going to be graphing your point at negative 1 and positive 1 on all your examples for your tangent graphs. Okay? Which means we only have to mess around with the b. Okay? So, for tangent, one cycle is going to occur in the interval between negative pi over 2b to pi over 2b. Okay? And this interval here, which represents from asymptote to asymptote, is going to tell you where your vertical asymptotes are located at. You're going to have a vertical asymptote at negative pi over 2b and pi over 2b on your functions here. Okay? And then your period will be defined by pi over b, because if you think of it, this is, if you have 0 in between, this distance is doubled. Well, if you took pi over 2b and you multiplied it by 2, the 2's would cancel, the pi's would cancel, and you would get, here, this is a 2. So the 2's would cancel and you'd be left with pi over b. Sorry, that was a little oops there. Pi over 2b times 2, the 2's cancel, you're left with pi over b. Okay? So, when you go to do your graph, all we're going to need to do is we're going to need to figure out where your asymptotes are at, and then we're going to sketch our asymptotes in. Once you have your asymptotes in, let's say your asymptotes are here and here, then what you'll do is you'll go to the origin, you'll put a point there, and then you go to the middle here and here. You're going to plot a point down here at negative 1. And then you go to the middle here, and you're going to plot a point at positive 1. And then that'll be your first interval. Then you just need to find out where's your next asymptote at. So you need to know what this distance is. You'll figure that out. You'll put the next asymptote in here. And then you'll go to the middle of this. You'll put a point. You go to the middle here. And you'll go down to negative 1, you go to the middle here, you go up to positive 1, and then that'll be a second interval. Okay? So, in the next video, we will do some of the examples.